Hey, Caleb here, the founder of Patriot Training Center, and I'm about to go on a little trip, so I thought this would be a great time to explain how to travel with firearms, okay? So whether you're coming out to see us, you're bringing your guns because you're coming out to train, you're gonna fly on an airplane, or if you're just gonna fly anywhere and you would like to conceal carry while you're there and you wanna take your guns with you, it's actually a lot simpler than most people think, but there are some pretty important things that you need to know. So that's what we're gonna cover, all right. Right here, we're gonna talk about two different ways to travel with firearms. So first, this is just an example of like a handgun case. And then this one would be an example of a case that I use if I'm carrying a rifle. So if I'm just bringing a handgun, which actually most of the time, if I'm bringing guns, I'm going out to some training thing, I'm bringing a bunch of gear. So I end up traveling with a bigger Pelican case like this a lot. But this is a small handgun case, actually bigger than you need, but you can carry multiple handguns in here. But let's first talk about basically the guidelines. Really the TSA, which is kind of over all the different airlines, they have pretty simple rules, and the rules are that it needs to be in a checked baggage. You obviously can't have it on a carry-on, and that checked baggage has to be a locked, hard-sided container, and that's pretty much all the guidelines that there are. And then from those guidelines, basically every single one of the airlines that you're flying on will have their own modifications or specifications according to those rules. So it's very important to look up whatever airline that you are flying on, and just look up the name of the airline like Delta Firearms Regulations, or look up JetBlue Firearms Regulations, and you'll find it pretty easily. It's normally under the sporting equipment section. Okay, but basically, so it has to be in checked baggage and it has to be in a locked, hard-sided container. So let's talk about that. So if you're just traveling with a pistol, you can carry just a pistol case, whether it's the one that your gun came in, or this one's like a one that I bought from a sporting goods store. And then it's pretty simple how you're going to have this stuff in here. You are going to need an unloaded gun. So obviously you're going to unload the gun. You're going to make sure that there's nothing in the chamber, nothing in the magazine wall. And then I sometimes will leave it with the slide open so that you can tell that it's unloaded. You can look at it and you can tell that it's unloaded. This side up would be best. But most people that are working at TSA or the airlines, they're not gun experts. You probably know more than them. So that part really doesn't matter. And the way that the guidelines are written, there's lots of room for interpretation. You will probably know once you read the rules before you go to the airport. You will know the rules a lot better than they do. So just be patient and get there a little early, and then be willing to work through the process with them. And you can pull up the regulations there on your phone, or you can print them out before you go. And if there's any problems like that. But basically, the gun has to be unloaded, of course. So the actual TSA regulations could be read to say that you could have bullets in your magazines, but just to avoid any problems, you should go ahead and take the bullets out of the magazines. So empty magazines, and we'll talk about ammo here in a second. But basically, whether you're checking a big case or a small case, the process is the same. You'll go up to the airline counter, and you're not going to say, hey, I have a gun. That's not what you want to do in an airport. Just go up there and then calmly tell them, I'm going to be traveling with a firearm. I need to declare an unloaded firearm today. They will give you a piece of paper, firearms unloaded thing, and you're going to sign it to prove that it's unloaded. They'll have you open the case, you'll sign this thing, and you'll stick it in the case where, you can double check with them as you're doing it. This is where you want it, and just make sure that the whole process goes smoothly like that. But basically, it's really flying with a locked, hard-sided container, and then signing one of these firearms unloaded declaration forms, and then it's pretty much easy like that. So let's go over kind of the details here. One of the big things when they talk about a locked container is whatever container you're using, if it has two places where you can lock it, you need to have a lock on both of those. Some of these have like 4 or something like that. Don't show up and have empty spots on it. That could be just a thing that delays the travel because they're going to tell you that it's unlocked. If you got one that's locked, then maybe somebody could pry the case open here and they could get to it, so it could be a problem. So just buy a couple locks, and you'll see the size of these locks when you put them on. There's not much wiggle room, so somebody can't really pry the case open, so that helps you out as well. Now, this is a handgun case. You could take this case and you could put it inside your checked luggage. So if you're bringing another piece of luggage, a bigger checked baggage, then you could lock this up, put your firearm unloaded inside it, and you could stick that inside your checked baggage, and you'd be good to go there. And that's how you could fly with just a handgun case. If you're carrying a big old Pelican like this or a rifle case, then obviously that would be its own checked baggage. All by itself, it would fly once you lock it up. So real quick, let's talk about the ammo. So in the case of you're carrying just the handgun case, if you have a box of ammo, they do want it inside an ammo box. So don't just have a whole bunch of ammo thrown in there randomly. Keep it in either the original packaging, or if you're a reloader, like those reloading packages, or any of the kind of purpose-made ammunition holding containers. Okay, that's what you want. And then you can put the locked handgun case inside your checked bag, and then you can also take the ammo and throw it in your other checked bag. You can't take the ammo on the plane, but it doesn't have to travel with the firearm, and that's pretty much it. There's a weight limit on the ammo, whether you're carrying rifle or pistol ammo. It's 11 pounds for basically all the airlines, except for, I think, Alaska Airlines. You can get a little bit more than that, but 11 pounds of ammo. They do not always weigh it, so take that for what it's worth, but 11 pounds is generally the limit. Okay, so that kind of covers if you're traveling with just a handgun all by itself in like a little handgun case. You could put it in checked baggage along with your other clothes, and everything else like that is perfectly fine. All right, so more often than not, if I'm traveling with firearms, it's normally for some type of training thing or going on a trip. I don't know what it is, but I travel with a Pelican case a lot because I can fit my rifles in there, and then a bunch of gear too. I really like a Pelican case when I'm traveling because number one, it doesn't look like a really long rifle case. Not a big deal, but this could be like kind of anything. I just left some of the stickers on here. You know, I could be a photographer or surfer or whatever, so it's a little more just kind of generic than a big long rifle case. But I mainly have AR-15s that I carry, so those break down. As you can kind of see in here, I just take the uppers and lowers apart, and then you can stick those in there. So let's see. So yeah, that's how I travel. I like a Pelican case when I'm traveling with rifles. The guidelines here, again, are very similar, basically the same thing. This is a hard-sided container. When I close it, these are the spots where there needs to be a lock because that's how many are provided. You know, you'll close all these down and make sure that you have a lock here. With these bigger cases, you can get away with a little longer, neck on these locks. Ammo. Sometimes with the rifle ammo, I will keep it in the case, and sometimes depending on how much this case is starting to weigh, I'll keep the rifle ammo in a separate checked baggage. But like I said, you can only get 11 pounds of ammo, and then this case weighs a good bit by itself, and then once you get the rifles in there, and then whatever gear you're bringing, belts, holsters, whatever it is, things can start to get a little heavy. But guidelines are the exact same. This is a locked hard-sided container. This would just be its own checked baggage that you're checking along with the rest of your baggage. This is also something that sometimes I've had pushback on, or again, people, because the rules are very vague, like you can kind of have to explain some things. But I've had other gear in here, like holsters and belts and shooting equipment and the rest of that stuff in there, and had them push back that it has to be a locked hard-sided container with only the firearms inside it. But none of the rules actually say that, so you could just politely pull up the rules. Anytime that you do this, again, like I said, if you just read the rules once and you go there in most airports, unless it's a very, very gun-friendly place that has a lot of people coming through with guns for hunting or whatever it is, you probably know the rules better than they do just by reading it over before you get to the airport. So just be calm, get there at the airport with 30 minutes, maybe an hour ahead of time than you would normally fly. It probably won't take that long. But go through the process, show up with all the locks on your cases. You go up to the counter, you're going to put your loaded case. You again, don't say I have a gun, say I need to declare a unloaded firearm. They're going to say, okay, put it up here, unlock the case, show that it's unloaded. They're going to show that it's unloaded. Some weird stories. Carter had an experience once. They wanted to pull the gun out in the airport and show that it was unloaded, and he asked politely for a manager to come by because he didn't feel comfortable doing that. So if there's some weird situations that they try to put you in, just ask for a manager and see if you can't get it taken care of safely. But again, you probably know more about firearms than them, so just work with them and show them that it's unloaded the best way that you know. And then you'll sign your declaration that everything's unloaded, stick it back in the case wherever they tell you. Just go ahead and check with them, is this good here? And they say, yeah. Okay, so I can lock it up. Okay, lock it up. And then we're good to go. All right, and then you put it through the thing. Now, sometimes they'll want you to wait to see if TSA wants to bring you over and inspect the bag or something like that. Sometimes that can happen. So wait around a little bit or just ask them. Sometimes they'll say, just go through security and we'll call you, if we need anything. But it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. It's just the only hang-ups that most people have is that they've never done it before. And that, like I said, every airline can be different. Depending on who you get that day, they may know, they may have done it like 20 times in the last month, so they know exactly what they're doing and it goes really quick. Or somebody may have never checked a firearm before and they're kind of like fumbling over and like trying to get you to do extra things because they don't really know how to handle this and they're uncomfortable. But normally if you just ask for a manager or something like that, or you could politely pull up the rules if you think it's something that's really egregious. The other thing is your key. These do not have to be TSA approved locks. and there's some debate about this. But keep your key with you. You're the only one that's supposed to have the key. If they want to open it, then you can go over and open it with them. But these do not have to be those TSA-approved locks that the TSA can open. In fact, you don't want that. So you should have the key and keep that with you once you lock it up. And then you just stick around, like I said, if they are going to need you to come open up the case and double check everything. But other than that, pretty simple. Just unload the firearms, make sure they're unloaded, show up with the firearms unloaded in the case locked. Make sure you're following the rest of the guidelines. TSA guidelines are pretty simple, so make sure you look up whatever airline that you're actually flying with to see if there's any extra things, because like some of them may say that you can only carry like 5 guns or something like that. So don't show up with 6 guns if there's some limit on how many guns you're supposed to have. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully these tips help you out with traveling with a firearm. And if you want to travel with that firearm, come see us at Patriot Training Center.